Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we've got quite the topic of discussion. We are going to attempt to settle the debate on whether or not there should be a such thing as physical copies of games, or should they go the way of the wind and usher in the final generation of digital-only games. This is going to be quite the spicy topic. I'm going to give you guys my take. Obviously, I'm going to present the facts on both sides of the argument, and I'm going to let you guys decide for yourself. At the end of the day, there's pros and cons of both the physical copies of games as well as digital ones, and we're going to go into both arguments and we're going to talk about it, and I'm obviously going to give you guys my take and where I think the gaming industry should go and where I think it eventually will go. There's a strong possibility that nobody agrees with each other in the comment section, so I just request that everybody keep it civil. Obviously, my take might be the wrong one. I might be completely far off, but we're going to go ahead and dive into things because this is quite the topic of discussion. And with the digital Series S coming out, as well as the PlayStation 5 digital, this topic is not going anywhere and we got to talk about it. So without further delay, let's go ahead and make the case for physical only games. There is no better feeling than waking up on Christmas morning, going downstairs to the tree and seeing a boatload of presents, and then catching a glimpse of a rectangular game case that's fully decked out in wrapping paper, and you knowing that it is what you think it is, but you're still surprised regardless of whenever you open it up, and it is what you think it is. And it's the hot new game that came out in November from the console that you already own, and you are just overjoyed with excitement because you got that new game on Christmas. Or the countless times me, my buddies, and my brother would go to GameStop and camp out for the new Call of Duty game that came out at midnight, and just that experience and camaraderie is something that I will never forget. And those two events I would have never experienced if it wasn't for physical copies of games, because I would have no reason to go out to GameStop or Best Buy to pick up my pre-order. I also think the freedom that we have with physical only copies is something a lot of people take advantage. Having the ability to beat an entire game and take it to like Best Buy or GameStop and get some of your money back is pretty cool. Now sure, GameStop and Best Buy are in the business to fuck people over, so you're not going to get your money's worth, especially if you take a game and you beat it one day and you take it back and only get like 20 bucks for it. That's obviously, it sucks, but the fact of the matter is you would never be able to do that if you had a digital copy of a game. Being able to take the game that you own to a friend's house or even another console you have in your house and playing it on that console without any issues is something you never get with digital only games. Now sure, you can download it on another console, but that just requires a bunch of download time, and it's not as easy as it is to take a physical copy and put it in the disk drive and be off to the races. Now sure, there's obviously an update that will require most games, especially if they're online, but that's also a reality for digital only copies. There's going to be updates for all games, but the fact of the matter is you could take a 60 gigabyte game and put it in another system and be able to play that game far quicker than having to download it on another console. Another pro with physical copies of games is there's an actual case that you could display with a piece of artwork that's usually really good, and that's just not something you get with digital copies. There's no such thing as a collector's edition for a digital only game. There's obviously like digital deluxes that have microtransactions that are usually just cosmetic items that charge you an extra $10 to get them, and it's just not something that's really worth it. With the collector's editions of some games, they usually include some piece of unique merch or like item that's just super cool, and that's just not something you get with digital games. Now with every pro that physical copies of games have, we have to discuss some of the cons. For instance, switching games require actual effort. I know it seems like a non-issue, but there are some people that just dread having to get up and go to their console and take out the disc and put in another disc to be able to play the other one, and vice versa. Do you guys remember back in the day whenever you would play Skyrim so often that your game disc would just get to the point where it's just unusable? If not, then you must have gotten lucky, because that happened to me about 3 different times just with Skyrim, and I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've overused a game or I mistreated it and that game just completely break, causing the game that you have to be useless, which requires you to go pick up another game. At the end of the day, with digital only copies, there's no such thing as a game breaking. Once you've got your download done for your digital only game, you're usually pretty good to go, and the only thing you really have to do is update it. And if it's Modern Warfare 19, then those updates can be big. So regardless of if you have a physical only copy in that instance or digital, at the end of the day, patch sizes are not going to get any smaller, especially with game assets and texture resolutions getting even higher, with game compression becoming like almost non-existent. Now in my opinion, there are some cases that people should buy physical copies of games and digital only copies. For instance, if you're playing on Nintendo Switch, it's probably a lot easier for you to pick up physical cartridges than it is to download stuff on the hard drive, because those games are pretty small file sizes, but there are some that are pretty big, and it's actually much easier to just use a game cartridge just because it's a, it's a handheld console, and it's just a super good experience. I think if all games went to cartridge only, like for instance on the Xbox Series X, X and the PS5, I would probably opt in to only buy physical copies of games. But at the end of the day, I am a digital only type of guy. You can call me lazy, you can call me a PC elitist, but the reality is the days of physical copies are dwindling down. Digital only games will take over, mark my words. With digital only games being so easy to acquire now and being able to switch between games without any issues, without any physical movement involved at all, you can literally play any game you want whenever you want. All you have to do is just switch the game and you can play it. You could literally be on your phone in bed buying a game and having it install on your console without having to go anywhere. Being able to have your entire library at your disposal, all you have to do is do a couple simple clicks and be on that game that you would like to play, is something you never will get with physical copies of games. Not to mention, with digital only consoles, you don't have to worry about a disk drive failing ever. Now sure, hard drives fail quite often, but the hard drives nowadays are actually NVMe SSDs that are modified without like any moving parts, so they usually have a long life as it is, and an even longer life whenever you compare it to physical disk drives. Usually whenever you have a component in a computer or a console, if it has a moving part, odds are that moving part is going to fail quicker than something that is solid that doesn't move at all. The amount of videos that I've seen of people hating on the Series S and the PS5 all digital is actually cringy. The PS5 all digital and the Series S will last longer than the physical consoles. I will tell you that right now for a fact. And with the digital consoles being almost $100 to $200 cheaper than the mainline consoles, the days of physical copies are going to end because people would rather take that money and apply it to actual games on their console instead of having to spend an extra $100 plus to be able to get your console as well as another $60 game on top of it. And with backwards compatibility being such a popular feature for this next generation, it actually makes more sense for you to buy games digitally because the next console after the PS5 and the Series S will almost definitely have backwards compatibility. People are over having to buy brand new games for their new consoles, and they want to just buy it digitally and have those games carry over to the new console. I just think the people that are dismissing the digital only consoles are arguing in bad faith, and they don't understand how much of a convenience it is to have those games. You already see the transition of physical copies going downhill, especially with the age of digital only consoles, as well as streaming services being so popular, as well as cloud gaming. The more innovation we see with cloud gaming and subscription services, we will see physical copies of games continue to dwindle down until they're extinct. Now, do I want it to happen? No. I'd rather have consoles have physical cartridges, kind of like the expandable storage on the Xbox Series S and the X. I think that's a great alternative, and being able to buy a physical copy of a game that just has a cartridge that allows you to plug it in and it just installs it immediately would be super cool, and that would be an amazing option to have. I've still got quite a bit of physical copies of games that I hold near and dear to my heart that I will never get rid of. For instance, my Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64, in the cartridge, in the box, never been opened. It's hanging on a picture frame, and it's just something that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's protected, and I will never open it for the rest of my life. So I just want you guys to know that I do like physical copies, but only for some collector's editions, and I think the days of discs need to go. Give me expandable storages, give me memory cards, give me USBs that I can just buy at the GameStop or any other place, or Best Buy, Walmart, you know, and just put it into the console, load up the game, and just play it off of that. I think that would be a good alternative. But at the end of the day, I just think discs need to go, and for that reason, I will only be buying digital for the Series X and the S, and I will be buying the PlayStation 5 all digital. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Are you a physical copy guy? Are you a digital only type of person? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, this has been Wes. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you on the next one.